I figured it was about time to share my conversion story because it's a lot and it's something I had to do before starting this incredible journey that's turned out way more amazing than I ever could have imagined. I'm going to be getting into all the details here, and I thought it was especially important to share because I ultimately went from a religion that is very widely accepted, very widely known where I live in America, to its antithesis. And I say antithesis because Christianity is monotheistic, paganism is polytheistic. Paganism tends to be an umbrella term for traditions that have roots all over the world that go back thousands and thousands of years. Any tradition that has a polytheistic belief system, folkloric deities, things like that. And so, yes, that is quite the opposite of monotheism, which is the belief in one God and one God only. So I had a lot of questions and a lot of fears, and ultimately, I believe that us finding the religion that truly aligns with us and feels the best to us is a process of reclaiming authenticity, of finding that thing that puts words and a belief system to something that you have felt in your heart and in your soul without words, potentially for forever. And so let's get into it. Okay, so for context, I actually didn't grow up with any particular religion put on me as a kid. And that is a privilege, I would say, because it gave me the freedom to explore and feel things out on my own and not have something so heavily, aggressively thrust upon me, like this is what you believe, like somebody else determining that for me. And with that being said, though, my mom has a background in Catholicism because she's Italian, her family is Roman Catholic, but she kind of, even though she went to Mass as a kid, she just kind of didn't really like it all too much. And then my dad, he had a Muslim stepfather, and a Christian kind of Catholic-y mom. And so he was kind of being pulled between church and temple, and he was like, I don't know if I like any of this. He was just, so those are my parents. And so it makes sense that our household was kind of like, hey, do whatever. We believe in a higher power, but like, you can kind of decide for yourself what that is. For the sake of the family, I was baptized Catholic as a baby, but it was like, we didn't go to church, like we didn't go to Mass or anything. We got together with the family for the holidays like Christmas and Easter and things, and we did celebrate Christian holidays, but it was never like so intense like I hear so many other people's household dynamics are. And so the thing about it is that I was kind of floating for a while, and my best friend, my childhood best friend, I love her dearly. We don't talk as much anymore currently, but she went to a local non-denominational kind of like hip Christian church, one of those big mega churches that have multiple locations all over the country. And so she took me there because I was open to it. I was curious. And oh my gosh, how could I forget? 1 second. When I was a small child, for as long as I can remember, I have had paranormal experiences that I could not put words to or have the understanding of to start to interpret because I had no idea what was happening. When I was in middle school and I started to become more aware of like, this has been happening for a long time, I thought I had paranoia, perhaps, which is a mental health condition. But it was super inconsistent. Like, there were no noticeable triggers, there was no consistency. There was no consistency because I was in these different places and locations and times and whatnot, and I would sense presences there because I would feel anxious and just gross in my chest and in my body, but I didn't know what it was. So I just thought, oh my gosh, is this all in my head? Why am I so scared right now? There was no connection between me and like the ether, And so anyway, that's very important context. Also, when I was a kid, I was very connected with nature, had this inherent deep respect for animals, and just like noticing the power of our intention and the power of celestial bodies, literally all this witchy pagan stuff, like please, which let me just clarify here, not every pagan identifies as a witch and not every witch identifies as a pagan. I tend to identify as both. So I might use that interchangeably, those two terms, when referencing myself, but just know that they are technically separate. Witchcraft is a practice and a lifestyle. Paganism is technically a religion, I would say. Okay, witchcraft is not a religion. It has folkloric ancient roots, built-in cultural traditions, and paganism is like polytheism. Anyway, so basically, she fast forward back to the present moment that I'm describing, and my best friend took me to church, and I loved it. It was great. And so now starts all through, from middle school all through high school. We volunteered, we attended the events, we attended church on Sundays, most Sundays, whenever her parents could take us, because they all went as a family. So if they didn't go, I kind of didn't go, because my parents, I remember talking about it with them, but they kind of weren't interested. So we went to the, I don't know what else to call them, camps. I almost called them retreats. In the spiritual community, it would be considered a retreat. We went to the summer camps in middle school and in high school, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. I had a great relationship and great understanding of Jesus and God. And it's so interesting because as I was getting close to my senior year of high school, for some reason I kind of started to feel like something's not being said. I don't know what it is, but I just feel in my soul that there's something missing. And that is me personally. Some people, like, again, all respectfully, all due respect, people are amazingly fulfilled by Christianity, and it makes all the sense in the world to them, and it's their whole understanding and concept, and it's very satisfying for them. For me, that was not the case. And so I remember it started to kind of fall apart, specifically when I had an interaction with one of my, they were called small group leaders. They were women typically, and men, but like we were a girl group. It was all like young girls, and so we had female leaders, people who identified as female, and they, every week we would get together after the message, after the worship time, at the end of church. There was like this allotted time for us to literally sit in a circle and discuss, and usually they gave us notebooks and journaling prompts, and like they made it very clear that they were open to questions and connection, and just like whatever you needed, you could lean on them for support. So I remember they always did this around Valentine's Day. They would have a talk about not only abstinence, but there was this particular year that my church had woven in homosexuality into it. And how, hey, when it comes to love, this stuff is wrong, basically. And it was so, guys, it was so weird because, like, yes, they went heavy on, like, the abstinence, and they used this whole, like, metaphor of a fire, like a campfire. People, I know, I'm preaching to the choir here. So many people have had, like, experiences where they use, like, weird-ass metaphors to talk about, like, maintaining your purity and your soul fire, you know? But alongside that, so the abstinence was very aggressive, but then there was like a whole other section where it was like they were trying to harp on homosexuality and the LGBT community, but they knew, and like they were like trying to not be politically incorrect and like beat around the bush kind of, but it was very obvious. And they didn't use the exact phrasing of it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, but they pretty much said that. Does that make sense? And so I remember we got into our small groups afterwards, and I was literally writing in my journal. I was like, guys, why did they talk about the LGBT community like that? Why? It didn't feel right to me. And again, these leaders are supposed to be people who are loving and accepting and compassionate and, oh, hey, let's talk about this. We are reasonable people with grounded perspectives. And I know I'm starting to get like crazy now because basically there was this thing where we could, if it was something that we were uncomfortable talking about like directly in person or with the other group members, our small group leaders had this thing where they were like, hey, write in your journal, tell us that you're like, when you're handing it to us at the end as everybody's leaving, you know, tell us that, hey, I wrote something in there, if you could please respond to it. We will gladly do that for you. So that it's almost like a exchange, like a private exchange in this book that nobody else saw. Because we didn't show each other, like the members didn't show each other our notebooks. We didn't take them home ever. Our leaders would bring them in a bag and then give them to us at the circle and then take them back. So basically the next time I had gone to church, one of my small group leaders had written in like almost an entire page of, and this is, I tell people this and they think it's so bizarre. She was like going on and on about how homosexuality is a force of evil from Pandora's box. And the people I tell that with, like, if you're a Christian, please explain, because is that not a Greek myth? Pandora's box, like, that's not Christian unless it was that transition between, so, okay, wait. My scholar brain is turning on. There was a time when ancient civilizations were transitioning from paganism to Christianity. And in some cases, they kept certain pagan concepts, but tried to kind of rebrand them as Christian. Like, they cherry-picked and were like, oh, okay, this is acceptable, and we can kind of, like, make it into this instead, in this, like, way. And in some cases, after a while, those things totally disappeared, or they stayed. I think an example I can use is the decorations that are used for Christmas, especially a decorated tree. That is pagan. Pagans did that in ancient times to ward off the illnesses that came with the season. So, yes, that maybe she was referencing that in my book, but I would need to look into it. If you are a Christian of a certain belief or like your denomination believes in, like, you talk about the Pandora's box, please let me know in the comments. Or if you're some type of archaeologist or historian that knows more about this than I do, like you're an actual dedicated professional to it, I've just been studying in college and for fun on my own, please let me know. But yeah, so I just remember sitting there like, this does not feel good to my spirit. And I'm pretty sure I left soon after that because I was just kind of, I couldn't unsee and unhear what I heard. In the messages that followed, I could just feel these discrepancies and the hypocrisy of like, we are supposed to love and accept everyone, and yet you're saying that these people are bad and wrong and they're not going to heaven. Like, I don't understand that. That is very dissonant. That's very different. Like, that is so fake. I hate that. So here comes when I started to get into and discover that I was, I discovered I was different. No, like, I don't know. I, in the very beginning, I started poking around on YouTube and online, and, after seeing a couple different things, it kind of hit me like, oh crap, those things that I described at the beginning of the video of what I used to do. I mean, I literally made potions with my friends. Sometimes it was outside with mud and leaves, but other times it was with household products. Like, I mean, I remember I had pink mouthwash at one point, and so I made a love potion out of it because it was pink, right? And I wouldn't drink them. I would just pretend, and I would, like, label them. Like, come on, like, what? So, yes, basically, I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, wait, this is a whole world that I'm starting to tap into, and it was kind of overwhelming. I was like bracing. I was like, how is this real? Like, magic. Like, I was so imaginative as a kid, heavy believer in magic. And so learning as a new adult, like a young adult, that not only is it real, it's like well known and practiced for a very long time in so many regions around the world and in history. So I was kind of like, oh my gosh, so excited, but also here is where the fears came in. Okay. So the very first thing I thought was, okay, well, crap. It was so sad because I thought genuinely for a little bit, I was like, well, shoot, now that I have started to identify inside myself with this new thing, now that I'm starting to resonate with this, will I walk into a church and burn? I'm not exaggerating. I genuinely thought that. And I was just thinking to myself, am I evil? Am I bad? No, it is the result of years and years and years. Because here, at this point, for me to debunk it and for me to just explore it, I started to research. And at this point, I was transitioning into community college. So my world was starting to become bigger academically. And so I did enroll in a world religions class and an anthropology class and different kind of like archaeology, different classes that would teach me how to find scholarly research and articles, especially in those realms, right? And so I came to realize, and I later made a presentation that I did for my speech class at community college, and then I later developed even further to do it for a philosophy club meeting at the college I went to, the university. And so I realized, oh goodness, people have been like afraid of what they don't understand, but also trying to gain traction against the old ways. And so they have used fear-mongering and centuries of misinformation and literally destroyed temples and unalived people in very violent ways to send the message that, hey, this is bad, but they were the ones saying it was. They were placing that on it because they didn't want, like, they were like, hey, actually, this is the truth and you guys are stupid and bad and been doing the wrong thing, and now we have to do this. Convert or pass. Literally, like, I am not, that's genuinely what happened. This is, honestly, at this point, this is very well known. You can find it anywhere, okay? So that's when I really started to get my footing. And at the same time as this, I would also like to note that I was also wondering, where am I going to get accurate information safely? Because again, if this is a thing that is misunderstood, if this is a thing that people are, if not overtly, they are covertly saying that it is evil and bad and sinful and like devil worship, right? And so with my, and I'm going to kind of get into this in the next section, but I had one friend that I could share these revelations with. And she was actually starting to transition away from a very high control religion. And so we started exploring local metaphysical stores together. And we found this store who the shop owner ended up becoming our first mentor. And she talked to us for 2.5, 3 hours, I think, because we were new and we walked in and we were like, hey, we're new. What do we do? And shout out to, I don't know if I can, no, I think I can. Shout out to Feather. Okay. Love you. Love you, love you, love you. So, so grateful. And basically she gave us a book like, hey, take this book. I don't have it on my shelf. But I was like looking behind me so that I can pull it up. But I can even put I can put the title, like the full title and list of authors in the description box. Okay. So she gave us this book and she's like, read it front to cover before you do anything. And basically it was a full introduction to Wicca and witchcraft. And it had like a full description of magical timing and deities and how to practice protection and set a space, cast a circle. And then at the very end, it had the solitary year and a day study, which is pretty typical of kind of more modern interpretations of the craft, especially Wicca. And so that is what got the ball rolling for me. That was the launch pad. And it was really, really cool because, yes, a journey like this of not only deconstruction, but also self-discovery can be kind of daunting. But you just have to take the first step. You will find your people. And once you have that first little bit to chew on, like for me in that case, it was the book. It was like, I just went, and now I am here, and now I'm an ordained pagan priestess, and I'm continuing to study and continuing to learn and connect with communities everywhere, and I could not be happier. And so, yes. Another thing, so kind of going back into these fears here though, so another thing I was thinking was, what will my family think? And my heart goes out to everyone who, whether it's with your gender identity or your sexuality or your religion or whatever kind of deep, vulnerable part of you want to pour into and show the world eventually, be your true self and be accepted for that. My heart goes out to all those who have to hide themselves to be safe, who have struggled and continue to fight for who they truly are. And so in my case, I was very, very lucky that I kind of, for a while, I studied stuff and didn't really say anything. And then I remember I made this, I forgot the technical term for it, but I made this, this triple moon goddess symbol, out of which for pagans, it's a full moon in the middle and then 2 crescent moons on the side. And it's a representation of divine feminine energy. The different phases of the moon correspond with our menstrual cycle, but also like maiden, mother, crone, like the stages of life of a woman. And so basically I made this thing out of sticks and string, and it was a decoration, a wall decoration. People have made pentacles, the star with the circle around it, or just a pentagram star. You can make these different symbols out of natural materials and hang them up and bless them and have them be wards or like talismans, pretty big talisman to be a wall decor, but and so anyway, it was hanging in my room because I wanted it to stay nice for my friend. I was going to give it to her like the next day or something. And my mom saw it and she's like, very calmly and very neutrally, she was like, what is that? And so I explained it to her. I pretty much said what I just said to you. And then it was honestly a really tender moment. We were like sitting on my bed in my room, my old childhood bedroom, because I lived with my parents for a while after high school. And I pretty much just said like, yeah, I'm a witch. Like, I forgot exactly how I worded it, but my parents were very accepting. And so I was like, it felt like a big weight was taken off of my shoulders. And so, yes, I'm very grateful for that. Thankfully, I was supported in that. They didn't quite get it for a little bit. They just kind of let me do my thing. But then, because as I said in the beginning, right, they kind of always gave us, because I have a sister, us the freedom to find what really resonated with us religiously. But because paganism gets such a bad rap, I was like, I was really nervous that they would kind of do a thing of like, oh, everybody, like, anything but this, anything but that, you know, but thankfully that was not the case. And so my final fear was, and this kind of goes along with what I was saying before, what will society think? Totally goes along with my research to debunk the am I evil thing. Society has just been playing a horrible game of telephone and follow the leader for centuries, based off of stuff that they don't even understand and stuff that they don't try to verify for themselves, unfortunately. And that continues to happen in different ways. You guys know what I'm talking about on TikTok and on social media in general, just seeing something and believing it's true wholeheartedly without being like, hey, I'm taking this with a grain of salt. Let me look into it deeper. More and more people are starting to talk about that. More and more people are starting to come out and be like, hey guys, let's not run away with stuff like that. Like, it should be common. It should be the default to use critical thinking skills. But it's not sometimes. So anyway, so where to seek support now? This is kind of my next section. As I was saying, if you're currently going through something, not even for paganism, I mean for any belief system that is different perhaps than what you have held in the past or what your family holds currently. Where to seek support: trustworthy and open-minded loved ones. If you have that weird quirky aunt that always has your back, you know, maybe gently try to kind of put your toe in the water with discussing things with her. Or if you have a community member that you volunteer with in your town, or a best friend or your best friend's mom, like maybe your best friend's mom has herbs hanging in her kitchen. If you are somebody who wants to pursue the craft, or you see she has like the twig symbols on her walls or something, or statues or candles, right? You can be like, so maybe keep an eye out for indications and hints of the belief system that you're trying to step into, and see who you can maybe confide in with that. And so community members, I kind of already said that. Yes, Feather was my first mentor. It's got the ball rolling and really helped me along the way. And so to take care of yourself, take it slow, have grace, and know that you don't need to figure everything out all at once. I know that it's hard. So us as humans feel safe with the answers. That's how the ego works. And so again, it can feel overwhelming and it can feel daunting. It can be like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? You know, and genuinely everything will unfold the way that it's meant to. And I hope that's not frustrating to hear. I can only say that because I directly lived it. Like I said earlier, take the first step. Take the very first step. Explore your community. If you have nobody in your circle or in your family to confide in or talk to, go to a temple or go to a church or go to a metaphysical store or some gathering place of the religion that you want to step into. And they will be more than happy to talk to you. I promise. I can pretty much guarantee. And so this is... Yes, so for the craft specifically too, I mean, if you're just kind of really nervous and kind of just really trying to get those very first ducks in a row, it could be as simple as, like, even simpler than reading a book. It can be intentionally noticing the sounds of nature around you on your daily run, or finding a stone that you like from outside and carrying it around in your pocket, or stirring your intentions into your tea. Those little, very, like, quiet things. And I'm sorry, my words got weird there at the end, because I was actually planning on coming out with a video about all the different ways to practice very, very secret. So if you want to see that video, it will be as comprehensive of a list as I can possibly muster up for you. So if you want to see that, please let me know down in the comment section, okay? But start as small as you're comfortable. Like, you can start anywhere with that. And so just a few more points here. It's your life. Let me say that again. It's your life. And you don't have to share every aspect of yourself with anyone at all, and know that those who truly love you will support you. You, like, other people aren't entitled to everything about you, especially when you're trying to explore a new phase, a new chapter, something that is going to support you way more in the long run. And know that some fear may come up again and again for a time, but every time you rewire yourself with love and truth, it gets better and it gets easier. It really does get easier. Trust me, I know. And keep your eyes on the prize. This is kind of my final point here. You deserve to have your life align with the belief system that fuels your spirit and feels right for you. Because what is life if not to have something that gives you hope, to have something that gives you understanding and footing in this physical 3D reality, you know? And so I think that's the video. I kind of presented a lot of this in a very kind of lighthearted way, and I hope that's okay, because I know that there were periods in my journey, especially in the beginning, where I was very scared. And I'm trying to show you that it's not all doom and gloom. You're gonna be okay. I see you so much. And if you need anything at all, please do not hesitate to reach out to me on my social medias. All those links are in the description or in the comment section of this video or in my email. My email is also in the description. So that is my story. I hope that it was helpful, and I am genuinely wishing you a wonderful rest of your day. And if you are somebody watching this who is making a transition from one religion to another, oh my gosh, congrats. Genuinely, congratulations. I am so excited for you. Know that this is worth it. This journey, this kind of perhaps rocky start, kind of nerve-wracking start, is so worth it. Again, I'm almost 8 years into my journey, and I feel like I have this greater understanding of the world and of the universe, of myself. I love myself more. I take care of myself better. Everything, every category of life has gotten better since I have embarked upon this. So thank you so much. I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, week, night, wherever you're at, and I will see you in the next one.